What's up, everybody? Hey, this is Kelly Cook, YouTube Live. I am checking out a new webcam this time, giving it a little bit different feel. So hopefully you like the. It looks like I had makeup on, like I'm, one of those reporters on the news, but I don't. I swear I don't. So good or bad for this webcam, I don't know, but we're giving it a whirl and seeing what we can do. So hopefully you guys like the new webcam, the new setup here from the standpoint, so it's more crisp, more clear, and the audio is good, and you can hear me and get all the education you need here today, guys. It is in housing trends for Phoenix. Okay, 2024 housing trends prediction. Now we did a prediction video on our channel the first week of January. Does it line up with this? We'll see. This is from the Phoenix Business Journal. The news is in. The newspaper boy just dropped this off at our. Just kidding. It came in the mail. That doesn't happen anymore. But we are going to cover that on the digital version here today as well for the Phoenix Business Journal and see what is going on with 2024. Where do you think is going to go from here on out? Now, this is something we're going to talk about a lot on a lot of these shows, but it's interesting when you have different perspectives. Primarily, this perspective is from the new home builders, and some of these builders are huge. So they have perspective from a couple of publicly traded home builders that obviously invest and build a lot in Phoenix, and a couple local home builders that are primarily located just in the Arizona area. So, what are they saying? Are they bullish or bearish about our housing market in 2024 and the near future? We're going to find out here today. We're going to cover that. But again, the market right now is a little bit of wah, wah, right? I mean, it just is kind of boring, right? I almost put the title of this YouTube Live as boring. But that is kind of boring. So I didn't want to do that because there is some cautious optimism. So we're going to share my screen and kind of get into it right now. If you have any questions, guys, let us know. Please let us know. It helps the algorithm where you are watching from. Comment on here as well. It'd be great to have some two-way interaction on this YouTube Live here today on this beautiful Monday, guys. And by the way, Monday is the best day of the week. It's the best day. Why? It's the first day of the week. They're full of new opportunities that lie out there for all of you guys. So Monday is awesome. That's the perspective I have today. So hopefully you do the same. But comment below. Let us know what you're thinking about any of these things that we're going to talk about here today. I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go over the 2024 housing outlook as it states to the Phoenix Business Journal. Here we go. There you go. And signs of cautious optimism, that's right, abound as home builders dig in for a productive year. So they go on to talk about what they're looking like today. Now, I kind of spoiled it based on the title of this article, but we are expecting a positive outlook for housing in 2024. Now, this is not from actually a home builder. This is from Tina Tambor, who's a senior housing analyst for the Cromver Report, guys, which is awesome. The positive outlook is not necessarily in properties appreciating a bunch this year. The positive outlook is that more people may be able to participate in the housing market as a seller or buyer. Now, how is that going to work? Well, I tell you how it's going to work. Two words: interest rates. Okay. They have to come down for that to happen because prices will not be coming down this year, guys. If you're waiting for that cataclysmic housing bubble to pop, it's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, I wish it would to an extent, right? I've been through this before. Been doing this 18 years, guys. Rode the market down last time, rode it right back up, and you have to pivot and adjust to be able to serve the type of buyer or client at that time in the housing market. So we're ready to do that again if that happens, but it's not going to happen in Phoenix unless, of course, some black swan event that no one sees coming all of a sudden pops out of nowhere. That's always, I guess, a small possibility. But outside of that, we're just not going to see price depreciation in 2024. I'm almost positive that, as I can't say guaranteed, but a pretty strong statement. A lot of people who are smarter than me say the same thing. So what does that mean then for you? Well, for affordability, you're looking at buying the monthly payment. And if you buy a cheaper monthly payment because of the fact that rates come down, that's what we're shooting for. That's what we're hoping for. And I think it's truly going to happen later this year. Although, if you look at Mortgage News Daily, what's their first comment right here in terms of their article? Inflation surprises delay the decision. Well, what decision is that? That decision is the Federal Reserve of reducing the federal funds interest rate. Now, no one really expected that to happen in January. Okay, that wasn't a big shocker when they said we're going to keep it the same. I really hope they don't increase it anytime soon, which no one thinks that's probably going to happen either. People do think that inflation will normalize, and you're probably going to see a good chance when they meet in March. Good chance, 50-50 maybe at best. They're going to probably bring down the federal funds rate a quarter point. And then as it goes into summer, the betting odds, because did you know you can actually bet on this kind of stuff? It's crazy, right? You can bet on anything. You can gamble on it. It's bizarre, but you can. But the odds start going above 50% come the summertime for the Federal Reserve to continue a rate drop of a quarter point every single time. So we shall see. All Star, what's going on? When they build the Astra Tower. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough on that one. That's good. That's good. I like that logo too. The Suns logo. We're not talking Suns today, but we're gonna talk a little D-backs just for a hot second. Okay, so stick around for that. Let me share my screen and get back at it. Here we go. So we're gonna jump up here. Oh, by the way, we're on rates. Let's just stick on it really quick. Let's scroll down. Where do they stand today? The 30-year fix is now back well above 7 at 7.14%. Bummer. Why? Because the inflation data showed that inflation is not under control. It is going up as of the report that came out last week with the CPI. So that's a bummer. We had this great time here in December where it got down to almost 6.5, almost late in December because of good news and good speculation news. But unfortunately, it just went right back up to 7.14. However, remember, mortgage rate buydowns are still a thing. They still exist, okay? Especially in the new home construction space, which this article is a lot about. All right, there's Tina right here. We're saying that mortgage rates currently hover around 6.75. Now it's 7.14. We just saw it as of today, as of just this moment ago, right? She estimated they would need to drop below 6% to boost buying and selling activity. And I think that's correct. I think she's 100% right on that. The good news is for Phoenix, we might need 6% to boost it, whereas the majority of the country they're probably going to need more than 6%, which would make Phoenix potentially go a little crazy again. I'm not saying we're going to have anything crazy happen this year. All I'm submitting to you is that because there's more demand in Phoenix than the majority of other cities across America today, and it's not going to slow down in 2024. What will be good for the goose is maybe not good for the gander. So when we get to 6%, multiple marketplaces across America might look at it and go, I don't know. We're not seeing a lot of buyers come off the fence and buying yet. 6% is not good enough. So the Federal Reserve says, okay, we got to keep this thing rolling. So let's go another quarter point or another quarter point or whatever it may be. There exists a scenario like that sometime in 2024. It's true. And if we're good at 6, Memphis, Tennessee might not be good at 6, right? Indianapolis, Indiana may not be good at 6. So the Fed has to say, okay, if over half of the economy, housing market in this situation, is maybe not moving like we thought it would yet, but boy, we look at Phoenix and Vegas maybe, and maybe Tampa, Florida, and Orlando and places like that, and they are. What do? Well, the majority of the economy is still not moving. The majority of cities are still not moving, but 10, 15% of them are. We got to go lower. And then that just makes even more people jump off the fence in Phoenix and Tampa, Florida, these places that are growing, that they have a lot of demand currently moving to, Austin, Texas, et cetera, these places, right? So that could cause prices to potentially appreciate more in Phoenix this year than, of course, in other cities across America. So that's interesting, right? I mean, think about it. That's a very plausible scenario that could happen later on this year. You have election year too, right? And typically the incumbent wants things to be as good as possible, and so you add 2 + 2 and it kind of equals 4. So be ready for that later this year. Now, if that means you're looking to buy, maybe, just maybe, you want to get in before that potential scenario does play out to be able to give yourself more negotiating power and leverage when looking to purchase that property. Just food for thought on there, okay? And we'd be happy, by the way, to help you with that process. Call us at 480-660-5974. We have over 430 5-star reviews on Google, Cook & Associates Real Estate Advisors, and we'd be honored to be the real estate team of your choice. Let's move on. Here we go. So we have Tina Tambora right here. We're talking about the interest rates, and now we have some statistics. Metro Phoenix Housing Market Scorecard. Here we go. The increase of mortgage rates over the past years caused a bit of a slowdown in the residential real estate industry, no duh, with the resale market hitting the hardest as home builders offered incentives to keep new home sales alive, i.e., rate buy downs on the interest rate for the mortgage. New home closings. Here you go, guys. 2023, we had less closings than we did in 2022 for new construction. And that will probably be a lot different in 2024, my guess, right? It's going to be a lot more than 2023. Resale home closings, look at this, guys. Wow. Minus 29% in terms of the amount of resale home closings from 22 to 23. And then single family home builder permits, okay, being pulled, that is also down. Now, that's a little interesting. I think you're going to, at the end of this YouTube Live, you're probably going to agree with me as well that that's going to change. And you're looking for 2024 where that's going to be a positive number because of the amount of home builders that are investing currently in the Phoenix area buying land, okay, and building, of course. Housing prices, okay. The median new home, right around, what is that, 474? The median resale home, 426. $50,000, guys, between new home construction and a resale home. Now, that doesn't surprise me because look at the average, too. Again, 584 and 571. Doesn't surprise me because people love new. People love new. They'll pay a premium for new. And so there you have it. You have a big discrepancy, in my opinion, between new construction and the resale home value. All right. Home builders bullish on land buys. Here's what you need to know. Okay. Here's a gentleman from Lennar. Okay. And they're the winning bidder just recently here from the Arizona State Land Department, dropping $32 million for 80 acres out by the Six Flags Hurricane Harbor Phoenix Water Park in North Phoenix by 43rd Avenue and Pinnacle Peak Roads. Now, this is going to be great, especially with the TSMC project that's going on up there in North Phoenix. But they're bullish. They're going to be buying land when they can, okay? In order to do that, okay, we've got to buy land. We're going to be very aggressive buying land this year. Our goal is to nearly double size in 3 to 4 years in home closings. That's from Lennar, which is maybe the biggest, if not one of the biggest, publicly traded home builders in America. All right, here we go. This gentleman here is from Fulton Homes. This is a regional, okay, a small local builder. Well, I shouldn't say small, they're pretty big, but compared to Lennar, they're small, right? And he said, historically, Phoenix has been a strong home building market. The job creation in the recent past and continuing strong in-migration numbers really points to Phoenix's strength as an overall home builder market. They're bullish, okay? They are now turning their attention to the West Valley. Norman Nichols, president, is developing 4 new communities in the West Valley to add nearly 3,600 homes. And we're still undersupplied, okay? They love their East Valley builders, but they're very bullish on the West Valley out by the Loop 303, okay? Now, I feel like I should show you that too, guys. You might be first here. Let's go Phoenix, Arizona map, okay? Let's pull this up. Show you guys what's going on here, okay? I think it's very important. The 303 is that new loop that is not a full loop like the 202 or 101 is currently. You see the 202 down here, all right? Right here, you see the 101 loops this way. And now you have the 303 looping up through Sun City West on the outskirts, up to North Phoenix and attaching to I-17. Now, one day, maybe it will go around here into Scottsdale, but I don't know. There's some pretty influential people living in Scottsdale that may not want that to happen. So there's no plans for that. I'm not saying there is, but maybe one day, who knows? But right now, this is a huge corridor for development when it comes to commercial space as well as residential living. You have the TSMC way up here in North Phoenix, but all this corridor is new building with new, plenty of land to be developed from industrial space to residential to commercial space for office space, et cetera, et cetera. So just want to show you that. Very important to know that, okay? And you got this gentleman here who's with the Howard Hughes Holdings Company, okay? And they are out of, I believe, Texas. And they are the Woodlands, Texas. That's Houston-based. And they are doing a 37,000-acre master plan community in Buckeye called Teravalis. It's huge. It's their largest proposed master plan community to date. Guys, this is in Buckeye. This is way out here on the other side of the White Tank Mountain. So you're looking at right out here is where the Howard Hughes is developing that big project, okay? And then you have other things going on, Eldorado Holdings and all kinds of stuff. But here we go. Jim Daniel, president of the LRL Brown Housing Report forecast 23,000 new home closings and 22,000 new home building permits in Arizona this year. Okay, 22,000. Let's go up here. Okay, that's about where we are. 20,000 for 23. So we should see an increase in 24 based on his prediction, and a little bit of an increase from 22 in no home building permits. Interesting. Okay, now we're going to link that article right now with this article here: why home builders are buying hundreds of lots all around Metro Phoenix. And there's obviously a picture of a community in Peoria, but we talked about this. RL Brown Housing Report tracks 1,053 land transactions. Guys, let me repeat that. 1,053 land transactions in Maricopa and Pinal County alone. Now, that's down from 1,442 land transactions over 47,000 acres in 22, though the amount of lots purchased was actually up 8.5%. That is crazy. Now, I expect land to continue this pace in 24 to keep new home product permitting in the 22,000 range and new home closings around 23,000, as we, of course, forecasted in December. So, guys, they're buying up land. They're going to be buying up as much as they possibly get their hands on because they know the demand will be there in the future, especially based on all of the job creation that we're having, guys. I can't talk about it enough. It is huge. Now, just, TSMC, guys, I'm not sure if you remember, $40 billion plant, $40 billion. And it's the only one in America on the western side of the country, the world, excuse me. Okay. So, again, David Weekley's building. They're an upscale builder on both sides of town. You have communities opening all around the valley, new construction. Can the labor force keep up with it? Okay, Camelot, upscale, luxurious builder, is building one at 128th in Alameda Road. Thank you very much, in Scottsdale. Okay, and they're doing other things as well. So, guys, they're building. It's going to keep happening. We need it. We need a supply. Here is the supply. Listings under contract, it's down. So if I pull up this chart, here we go. You can see right now that in 2023, the listings coming onto the market are not performing as well or as many as they were doing in 2023. You see the 2023 purple line. You see the 2022 green line. And 23 had low supply compared to 22, okay? With the amount of properties going under contract. There are just not as many going under contract because there's not as much supply. If you go over here and read the commentary about this chart, you can see right here, listings under contract counts continue to be underwhelming, only reaching 8,100 after 7 weeks of the year. The same time last year, we had 8,800 and 12,000 the year before. I mean, it's crazy, right? Although demand has improved a little since late 2023, it remains very subdued and is having difficulty catching up to last year, which is pretty poor in the first place. With typical 30-year fixed mortgage rates over 7%, again, we are not seeing much enthusiasm among buyers who were clearly hoping rates would fall below 6.5% at least. And it's not there yet, guys. But just as Tina said, I'm telling you, when it gets below 6.5, but really 6%, watch what happens. So a guy named Barry Habib, who is the mortgage guru, okay? If you look him up, he advises and consults a lot of lenders and mortgage bankers, et cetera, on where rates might go, et cetera. And he is stating right now that for all the data they have, for every 1 point the 30-year fixed rate drops, there are 5 million home buyers waiting in the wings to jump off the fence and get in the housing market every 1 point. So what if this thing goes down to 6 or maybe 5.5 at some point? That's a lot of home buyers getting off the fence and transacting. So we'll see what happens later this year. Because I do think the betting odds in Vegas are on that rates will continue to come down to a degree this summer, and we'll see how far they slide. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. What we know right now is that people just aren't transacting because they have a low interest rate for the most part. We know about 80% of the home buying public in America has a rate of 4% or less, or they own their house free and clear. And so they're just not really too excited about making that move and taking on that 7% interest rate when they're at 4 or less, right? It makes a lot of sense. Steve, what's going on? Great job, Kelly. Thank you. What is the water situation out west past the 303? Great question. So, Steve, it depends on exactly where out west, the 303. Now I'm gonna pull my map up here. I'm gonna share my screen, okay, and give you guys a little insight on this. Okay, I go deep on this because I think it's that important. We have the media talking about what's going on with Phoenix, and sometimes they're not reporting, exactly what's going on because it's not selling right. They need to sell advertising. They need to make money, so they got to use scare tactics and so on and so forth. So here's the deal. Right now, you can see the White Tank region. This is the White Tank Mountains right here. Buckeye straddles both sides here. Now you have the 303, like Steve was asking. Really over here in the 303, because they are part of certain suburbs like Peoria, maybe Glendale, Sun City West, Surprise, etc., Waddell, they all currently have a 100-year certificate, water certificate, guaranteed assured supply of water. Okay, so that means every single day that goes by, they have 100 years of water. And that's just groundwater. That doesn't include any surface water they have rights to through all the contracts that are out there, right? Different municipalities and cities, etc., with the state and in the country, for that matter. So that all being said, tomorrow will be another 100 years. The next day, another rolling 100. Okay, so that's good. Now there are two suburbs that currently do not have the 100-year assured water supply certificate. Most of the cities do, these suburbs, but they don't in general have a 100% that guaranteed supply. And that's Buckeye and Queen Creek down the Southeast Valley down here. Okay. Now, 92% of Queen Creek currently has that assured water certificate. So most of it's fine. And by the way, if it doesn't have it, it doesn't mean it's not fine. In fact, the Howard Hughes development, Teravalis out here, that's one of those developments that the governor has kind of halted things on, and when I shouldn't say halting, I don't mean like she's like saying you can't build or anything, but she's just basically saying you got to think twice maybe because we may not be able to guarantee all the people you build houses for to have this 100-year certificate of water supply. Now, there is a huge aquifer currently under the Phoenix area. And without going in, I could geek out on this, right? So I'm gonna go that far here, Steve. But there's an aquifer, and there's water in that area right out here, west of the White Tank Mountains, in the ground, a huge aquifer. So there's water there, but based on contracts and city politics and whatnot, they just don't have that that ability to issue that water certificate. So it's interesting to see because when the governor said that about the certain areas around the valley that may not had that 100-year certificate, at that time, I believe there were 68, I could be off a little bit, but 68,000 new home building permits that have already been approved across Maricopa County for Phoenix and Pinal County. And they were all good, and they all had guaranteed water rights. So, and none of them had to cancel or be stopped. So, it is a thing definitely to continue to monitor because you want to save water. You want to conserve and be smart about water. And so the three lower basin states in America are California, Arizona, and Nevada. And so they have come together, and through 2026, they have agreed on sharing water that comes from the Colorado River in a certain manner that is going to really, really conserve that water as much as possible for those three states, at least through 2026. But then it's back to the old, contracts from years ago, hundreds of years ago, that they had with state rights and things of that nature. So it gets really complicated, but the bottom line is they are very aware of it, and they're going to be trying to conserve as much as possible. And the other good news, Steve, and I'll stop on this with the water. The other good news is that Phoenix is the second best or highest rated water conservation city in the world behind Tel Aviv because of all the technology they have to be able to try to conserve water. So that's good news. So as time moves on, yes, more people will come to Phoenix. And yes, we need water and clean water for everybody. Absolutely be able to thrive down here in the desert. But the good news is that technology will continue to get better and better as well. So this is really good stuff, really good topic. And also too, did you know that currently the amount of water we're using in Phoenix is equal to what we were using right around 1960? 1960. The main reason why is because obviously water conservation and technology has gotten much, much better, but a lot of agriculture has been eliminated in certain parts that don't make sense. For example, certain agriculture that was in the middle of the desert that you had to really get well water from and really get kind of creative on how to get that water to those crops. Maybe that farm is no longer a farm, right? There's not near as much agriculture, but they are continuing to grow crops in Arizona because there's a lot of really good places that are actually fairly fertile and so on and so forth. But a lot of it, they're looking at it, they want it to be around like, maybe a river area source that runs through the state or something like that, right? To where it's not as complicated to get that water and to suck the water out of the ground for just, growing some crops in some maybe area of the state in the desert. That just doesn't make sense, right? So that's happening as well. So all these things are happening to hopefully have a very bright future for Arizona, well, specifically Phoenix, because that's where the desert is, right? All the population in the future. And also, too, I'll say one more thing. I can keep going. I'll shut up. I promise. I'll be quiet for this. The good thing is right now, with the water rights that Phoenix has from surface water alone, from the Verde River, the Colorado River, etc. Right now, we have an oversupply of the water we're using from the surface that we have rights to. So right now, it's being obviously stored in our aquifer below the ground, but it also is being moved down to Tucson and their aquifer, because our aquifer is fairly full, down to that. And Tucson actually is either storing it for us on behalf of us, I'm sure for a fee, right? Or we're selling part of it to them. So that I'm not going to get involved with because I don't really research the Tucson aspect. But for Phoenix, that's what's going on. Okay, here we go. Hey, Chris, what's going on? I just listed my house in Minnesota. Congratulations. Moving to Gold Canyon. I love Gold Canyon. Will I have water there for 100? Yes. Right now, Chris, you do. So 100 years, 100 years, 100 years. In fact, Chris, I have another client from Minnesota who actually, when this media came out and talked about this water, she said, it's a shame that Arizona's such a beautiful area. It's a shame that Phoenix doesn't have the water, for the next X amount of years in the near future. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this is interesting. I don't understand where this is coming from. Then I read the article in the media. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of misguided a little bit here. So let me call her up. So I call her up and she's retired, right? So she probably is not going to live another 100 years. Let's be honest. And so I go, hey, unless you're planning on having some miracle drug that's going to get you to 100 and a bunch of years after that, you're probably okay. And your kids are going to be okay if you will the property to them and that sort of thing, right? As well, if you choose to do that when you're no longer here. And so it was a kind of a chuckle, but she was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea because I read just, the headline, let's say, or maybe a small little bit of an article that was written. Like, I just thought that the desert's drying up. And so that's unfortunately, because there was some misinformation about that. But it's water conservation is something that's very important. And I'm so glad that, Phoenix is actually paying attention to it, because if you're going to solve it for the next 200 years, you got to start today, right? You can't just wait for another, 80 years and then try to figure it out. It might be too late, that kind of thing, right? So kudos to Phoenix, kudos for leadership, kudos for the people that other states too as well, the lower basin states and the upper basin states that make up the whole Colorado River basin area that, feeds off that to an extent, and some of the other rivers, for trying to get ahead of it and trying to work together to an extent. Now, let's be honest, there's a lot of infighting there going on, but they're trying to at least start the conversations to work out deals amongst each other, so the federal government doesn't have to come in and say, well, this is the way it's going to be, boom, and then no one likes it or whatever, right? So there you go. I love this name, this handle, Vanilla Ice. I love it. Whatever happened to the desalination plant idea in the Sea of Cortez? Yes. Right now, you know what? I'm going to find out the most recent update for you, Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby, and I'm going to get back to you. So hopefully by next week in the YouTube Live, I'm going to have that information for you. I'm going to do some research because I don't know where it stands today. But what he's referring to, guys, for everyone else, is that an Israeli company, who does some desalination because they're right there on the Mediterranean over there in Europe, right in the Middle East. They obviously have a lot of technology about this thing. So what was proposed to the state of Arizona was this, and this is actually, or I should say maybe the Phoenix City Council, the desert Phoenix area. But this is interesting, guys. Check this out. They proposed that they would front the cost, which they estimated, I think, would be around like $2 or $3 billion to build a desalination plant on the coast down by Rocky Point in the Sea of Cortez. Okay, now Rocky Point, for those who don't know, is actually the closest beach to Phoenix, Arizona. So all the Phoenicians that want to go to the beach the fastest possible can go south, and it's about a 3-hour drive to the border and another hour drive or so to the ocean there in the beach for the Sea of Cortez, Rocky Point. They're going to build a desalination plant and obviously get that water clean from the ocean and send it to Phoenix through piping or whatever it may be. And they're going to cover the whole cost. all they asked was for some sort of contractual agreement, of course, that they had to pay certainly, monthly membership fees, right? For I don't know how long, I don't know. But I thought that was a great idea, obviously in principle. Now, obviously, the people that are leadership in Phoenix has to agree to all that, or Arizona has to agree to that. So maybe it wasn't such a good idea because, at least at this time, because maybe the fees were too high and long term it just didn't make sense. But I gotta imagine at some point that's going to make sense because there's so much water in the ocean that if we could just clean it to make it, so you can drink it and so on and so forth, what a big advantage that is, right? Especially for people who want to live in the desert when it's super nice with weather and desert lifestyle, etc. So we'll see. So I'm going to research that and get back to you next Monday on YouTube Live here at 12:30. Okay. Thanks for saying that. Okay. Now we're almost done here, guys, but don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Got a couple more things here I'm going to run through really fast. Okay. This will be fast. This is interesting, guys. Backyard casitas, ADUs, gaining traction. Arizona legislatures seek to take concept statewide. So here's how they're trying to solve a portion of the affordable housing issue. Okay. So they are putting casitas like this. Look at this picture, guys. Here's the house. Here's the backyard, a little basketball hoop. And they're putting these little tiny casitas, guest house, whatever, in the backyard that you can actually sell on your lot that you own to someone else. They buy it. They live there kind of in your backyard, but they own that casita. Interesting, right? So this will help out a lot of the affordability issues. So we won't go into a lot of depth on that, but pretty crazy. And there's a company out there, I covered it on one of my YouTube lives here a few months back, that actually is specializing in building these at an affordable tick, right? So you can actually, I don't know what the cost was, but they have these modules, these templates, and they can put it up pretty easy in a backyard. There's a design of a floor plan right there. Pretty simple. Bathroom, bedroom, next living space, and this is an ADU with 1 bedroom, 1 bath, right? They have two twos as well, right? So pretty interesting, guys. Let me know if you have any more questions on that, because that's an affordable way to live in Phoenix potentially, right? Dutch Bros to spend up to $41 million on Arizona move, guys. Dutch Bros out of Oregon is actually moving 40% of its support operations to Arizona. Why? Because everybody wants to live in Arizona. That's why. And you should too. Come on in Arizona. We love to help you guys out with buying a house, relocating. We help people out every single month to the tune of 20 to 30 sometimes. And we love to help you as well. Answer any questions you have. Just be a resource for you. That's all. Okay. So that's the headline there. We'll stop at that. A few more things. A slow moving train wreck. Oh, we're saving this for next week, guys. This is the one thing that's interesting about the commercial real estate. So, guys, if you take the commercial real estate lending aspect, you compile it with all the other things we talked about already. It's one more thing that would make you believe, if you're going to bet, that rates are probably going to come down. Because what's the one thing that these lenders, or the government, I should say, could do to help these lenders not foreclose on these big loans and have office space and commercial space potentially be in default, et cetera, et cetera? Modify the loan, decrease the rates, right? So that's interesting concept there. All right, here we go. This is IWG bolsters its co-working footprint in the Valley and Tucson offices. What that basically means, I'm going to share with you guys that because office space is expensive and you have 5-year leases and all stuff typically, you have co-working. That's huge in Phoenix right now, and this company is bringing their brand to Phoenix, already have actually as well. So co-working is a big deal in Phoenix, okay? Caesars Republic Scottsdale sets opening date. Reservations now accepted, guys. Look at this. Here's the rooftop pool that has stunning views of Camelback Mountain. If I could do a 360 of this picture, which I can't, they're not allowing me to do it, you would see view of Camelback Mountain hitting you right in your face as you're lounging by the pool drinking a Mai Tai. Okay, this is awesome, and it's set for opening March 6th, guys, in the heart, and I mean the heart, the epicenter, the nucleus of Old Town Scottsdale, right next to the Scottsdale Fashion Square. So pretty darn cool. If you want to come visit Scottsdale, want that high-end, kind of swanky stay while you're here, Caesars Republic is the spot to be. All right, Ambrosio 15, a new Italian food restaurant, obviously coming to Phoenix, to the Biltmore area, guys, down 24th of Camelback. I'm gonna pull my map out because this map's coming in handy today, right? So, guys, Biltmore, here's the 51. Camelback's right here. Oh, there it says Biltmore area. Boom, right in the area is where this restaurant is coming to play. It's a high-end restaurant. The chef is straight from Italy. So if you want authentic Italian food, that's the one to check out. All right, a few more things, we're done, guys. You may have heard about the Waste Management Phoenix Open if you're a sports fan, and that it got a little out of control this year with the amount of people who are a little inebriated. And of course, because of all the rain that we had, they're sliding down the hill, right, trying to walk, and they can't walk, and it just became kind of a sore sight for eyes, right? So they are now going to put some restrictions in for next year to make sure this doesn't happen again before the PGA Tour pulls the event. Not saying they're going to do that because it is the greatest show on grass, but they got to make some changes, right, after what just happened. So they're going to do that, and all you do is go to social media, and you can see some videos of some people who couldn't even like really walk, and they're just taking nosedives right into the mud. It's quite it's interesting. And this is kind of cool, guys. How often do you see a full ice rink in a single family house? Well, there you go. Now you see one, right? There's an ice rink. I should say full, but like it's an ice rink, right, in someone's house in Scottsdale in the Arcadia at Silverleaf area. And this is a former goalie, NHL goalie, who's selling his Scottsdale mansion because he's moving to Minnesota because his sons are playing hockey, and that's where the hockey is, or they're choosing to play their hockey. So $12.5 million for that house right there. If you want to buy that, I know Arcadia Silverleaf very well. Some members on our team do also. We'd love to help you take a tour of that beautiful house, especially if you're a hockey fan, or maybe you want to maybe you're an ice skating fan, right? All right, last but not least, Arizona Diamondbacks. It's that time of year, guys. Retake the field for the first time since the World Series appearance, where they lost to the Texas Rangers, unfortunately, which both are playing spring training in Phoenix. So if you want to see the two arguably best teams from last year, they are both in Phoenix for spring training, which starts here right now. Well, the games start pretty soon here and runs almost all the way through the end of March, guys. It is awesome. You need to come down, check out the weather, 75 degrees, 80 degrees, sunny, and sit out on the lawn for, I don't know, $15 and watch a spring training game. It is a great way to spend a Saturday, or any day for that matter, if you have the time. So pretty cool. Spring training is upon us. And with that, guys, let me just tell you right here, I was not sharing my screen. I apologize. But there you go. There's the spring training article. Okay. Also, too, Chris, thanks for replying again. The problem I've heard is what they do with the salt after they clean it from the ocean. Yep, that's true. That is a problem. That is a problem. Now, I'm assuming the company from Israel that's already doing this has some sort of way to do it, of course, but maybe the government in Mexico, maybe it has to be stored there somewhere, or they offload it and they don't want that. Good point. That is a very good point. So there's still some things to figure out, but I will try to figure out where that currently stands in the continuum of if that's going to ever take place for Arizona water in the future. Okay. And I'll let you guys know. All right. I will definitely do that. So, guys, with that, we're a little over time. Thank you so much for hanging in there. And Steve, great question about the water. It spurred some good thoughts from people, guys. If you have questions like that at any time, you can always reach out to me at 480-660-5974. Or you can check our relocation guide down below in the description, or even our buyer's guide. Either one would be great for you guys. Click on the link. You can download the buyer's or relocation guide to Phoenix right there, so you get all the best information about buying a house in the Phoenix area, guys. Thank you so much, as always. And until next Monday, Phoenix, keep it classy.